Hello, this is Chris Heasley with the Chris Heasley Radio Show. And on tonight's show, we're bringing you up-to-the-minute updates on the Harris County elections from a Republican perspective. And we have two people in our audience who are very well qualified to do that. And with us tonight is Marc Cowart, who is a candidate for Republican County Treasurer. How are you doing, Marc?
Fantastic. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being on the show. We look forward to hearing from you. And we have a regular returner, Cindy Siegel, who is the Harris County Republican Party chairperson.
Hey, Chris.
Good to see you.
It's good to see you.
Thank you for coming back.
I'm thrilled to be back.
Yeah. Well, I think we're going to have a great show. And, I want to first jump right into it and learn everything about the Harris County Treasurer, a pivotal role in the county, in the restoration of the county. Of course, it is a complete state of upheaval under our current Democrat leadership. Harris County's finances, everything was in good accord just a few short years ago. But now the debt is skyrocketing. The state of the cities is going in a bad way. And one very critical part that must be sort of secured is the treasurer position. And so we have Marc here today. So Marc, good to meet you again. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm a native of Houston. I'm native Texan, obviously, and I'm a lifelong Republican. Started voting Republican in 1986 and have voted in every primary since then. I've been a Republican precinct chairman over 4 precincts since 1992 was my first Republican precinct. I've been executive director of the Harris County Republican Party, so I have a very extensive track record with the Republican Party, and I was the director of communications for our Republican district clerk, Chris Daniel.
Very good, very interesting. So it's a very, very solid background. Tell us exactly, what does the Harris County Treasurer do? What role does that serve the county?
It's pretty simple. The treasurer at the core is the custodian of the money. They make the deposits and they make the disbursements. So that they would take credit card charges. They would do wire transfers. They would take incoming wire transfers. They set up ACH deposits for payroll and that sort of thing.
Who is the current treasurer for Harris County?
Our current treasurer is Carla Wyatt, the Democrat. She has no opponent in the Democrat primary, so she will be the nominee for November. You may have heard that she's had some recent trouble. She had a DWI arrest and then subsequently had violated her bond while she was on the bond for the DWI. And then most recently, just a few months ago, she was arrested for burglary of a vehicle, for a vehicle sitting on Washington Avenue. And we'll see how that works out for her.
Okay, I want to talk about those things. But before we get into that, can you give me an idea? What is the state of the treasurer's office today?
Well, in our previous Republican treasurer was Orlando Sanchez. He's one of the greatest treasurers that we've had. And under Orlando, it was a very transparent office. He maintained an online searchable database of the financial transactions of the county. You could easily find out where the money was being spent, the amounts, everything. But the Democrats subsequently dismantled that. So we don't have that transparency. What we have is on their website, they have a basic treasurer's report and a report of disbursements. But if you look at the website, in 2025, they only had 2 treasurer's report, January and February. They had nothing for the rest of the year and nothing for 2026.
So Orlando Sanchez provided complete transparency.
Yes. In fact, he won multiple awards for his transparency.
And so you would be able to, in the past, again, the county treasurer pays the bills, basically. It's the bookkeeper for the county.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And so in the past with Orlando Sanchez, when the Republicans were running the county treasurer's office, how long ago was that?
He was swept out in 2018 when the Democrats
2018, not long ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
So 8 short years ago, and you would be able to just simply a searchable database see where every check, every disbursement, every money wired, every single dollar, nickel, and cent went to.
Exactly.
And then we have Dr. Carla Wyatt, a Texas Democrat, take over that helm from Orlando Sanchez, from the Republicans, and the transparency is essentially wiped away.
That is correct. There was actually another Democrat treasurer between that actually won in 2018, but Wyatt won in 2022.
But regardless,
Yes.
the Texas Democrats ensured that transparency went away.
The Democrats took that transparency and dismantled
So
it.
now if the citizens want to log in and see what their county treasurer, what bills are being paid, what the how the steward of the finances is being done, all that stuff, they get nothingness.
They get nothing. Like I say, it's been 2025. They had almost no reports. In 2026, absolutely no reporting of that, and nothing that you could search as a whole document. You would have to go through individual months to look to see what you're looking for.
So now, right? So the Texas Democrats take it over, remove that transparency, and okay. So tell me about Dr. Carla Wyatt again. Now, she's a woman who hasn't really restored transparency in that office, she's repeat me again one more time. She's been in trouble with the law. Is that correct?
That is correct. She had a DWI, violated her bond, and then now her current charge, still pending, is for burglary of a vehicle.
She stole a car.
She broke into a car.
Broke into a car.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
And this is the person that's watching our $2.7 billion. The budget is $2.7 billion, so that's what flows through those accounts.
Yeah. So we don't. Okay. If you don't have transparency, it breeds corruption.
Yeah, we don't know what's going on because it's not transparent. How can we know?
So when you go up against her in the general election, what's that race going to look like?
It's going to look like providing the public with the information. I don't think anyone wants a person of this character leading their county, watching their finances. It's all of our tax dollars that she's in charge of. As the duties of the office are to be the custodian of those funds.
But the Texas Democrats can't have you win this race, because if you won this race, you would essentially be a check and balance in their system. As I understand it, money flows in every direction with no accountability under Texas Democrat leadership in Harris County. The spending's gone through the roof and just a lot of unanswered questions. If you get in there, they can't have that, because then you would be a check on the system.
A check on the system. And for example, back when we had the issue with Lena Hidalgo and the Elite Strategies bid rigging scandal, most people agree that the county treasurer should have caught that.
Can you explain that scandal?
That was the issue where where they rigged the bid, where friends of hers, Elevate Strategy.
Oh yeah, I remember that. They did the same thing in Fort Bend County. Mm-hmm.
And so
it was a bid for it was the
COVID communications.
Yeah, COVID.
It was the Wuhan flu, and they were going to do a door knocking strategy to check the status of citizens' vaccination,
Right.
and which is corrupt and anti-American in every way, shape, and form. But in addition to that, they corrupted the bidding process for that contract.
And so what happened was that the contract ultimately got canceled. But even if it was canceled, the treasurer then still issued $1.4 million against that contract, even though the contract had been canceled. And so that's why we need accountability. That's why we need transparency.
And on top of it, it was not the lowest bid.
Right.
Yeah.
And it went to, what was it? It was like the woman who got it was just her, and she lived in an apartment
Right.
and had no experience with it.
The company was in an apartment.
Yeah.
and that's just one thing that they were caught, right? But how much is happening when you have no transparency in the treasurer's office?
That's right.
What else is going on? I mean, you see, the other problem is if you get in there and you do a historical audit, that could be a problem for the Texas Democrats.
And I will absolutely do an audit. I mean, we'll start implementing that from day one.
You do an audit, and hopefully you do that audit in concert with the Texas Rangers.
Yeah, for who knows what's gone on for the past 8 years.
Yeah, right.
The waste, fraud, and abuse that they've allowed to infiltrate our county government, we don't know. But we're going to find out.
Yeah. Well, we have more questions than answers in this race. But, okay, so how formidable is Dr. Carla Wyatt as a candidate in the general when you're going up against her?
Well, I think she's flawed, quite frankly. I think she's flawed.
So you're confident?
I think we have something to work for. And I think that people are going to be stirred up. The public, once they know the truth, they're going to be stirred up and motivated to work in this race and possibly the rest of the races on the ticket.
Yeah, I'm just going to say one more time. I mean, it would be so amazing if you win this race and you do a historical audit on expenditures for the past 8 years.
We will.
I mean, that's going to open up a lot of can of worms. You can come on the show every week. I think we're going to have a story every week.
I think you're right.
More questions than answers. But, okay, so it is very possible that we can beat the Democrats in the general race for the Harris County Treasurer spot. I'm always kind of taking the positive outlook on everything, but Cindy, give it to me straight. I want to talk about a lot of things, but regarding the general, how confident are you going up against the Democrats in Harris County?
I think, like Marc said, we have a lot to work with. I mean, you've seen what Lena's done. We've seen how out of control crime is. I mean, the issue of where's the flood bond money that was passed back in, what was it, Marc, 16 or 18? Mm-hmm. You know, those projects are not done. They're underfunded. Where'd the money go? So we're always one major hurricane away from another disaster. And how many can you go through? You know, what was a well-run county government with the Republicans, where they focused on the things like infrastructure, street, making sure that our neighborhoods were safe. That's gone by the wayside. You had Lena wanting to spend money on guaranteed income. You had her wanting to do, what was it, a few months ago, she brought in the children and she's screaming at her Democrat fellow commissioners, screaming at them that they weren't taking care of the children. She wanted to spend, money on that. I mean, a lot of DEI type stuff, a lot of woke policies, instead of the basic function of the county government.
And that tells you the importance of 3 votes. We've got 1 vote, Commissioner Tom Ramsey, and he needs conservative allies on that court, so we need to pick up the county judge and at least one of the 2 commissioners that are up.
Okay, we're going to get into all that, but before we get into that, Cindy's finding herself in a competition of her own. Yeah. She's got a Republican primary challenger, so
yep.
How's that going?
Well, it's interesting. They're both precinct chairs, and for people who don't know what a precinct chair is, it's each party, they have people who are elected. You have a precinct, a smaller electorate division, and they're elected to serve on each party. In our case, our executive committee. We meet quarterly. They make the decisions for the party. I'm just the one who runs the meetings and tries to create the strategy, raise the money for the party. So they're both precinct chairs. They haven't delivered the votes in their precinct. It's easy to be a Monday morning quarterback without actually having done the work.
But Cindy, I mean, really, what we've seen under your leadership is, I'm not just throwing you a compliment. This is my honest assessment. I've said it before I knew who you were. You were Republican chair, but I didn't know you.
Yeah.
But we essentially saw the Republican Party had no legitimacy, no credibility in Harris County less than a decade ago. There was no money being put towards candidates. The candidates were halfway candidates. They were not serious candidates. And now we see a formidable stance by Republicans across the board. We see qualified candidates across the board. We certainly are not in, I would say, where we can, spike the football in any way, shape, or form. No, we got our work cut out for us, but we're in the ball game under your leadership. That's how I see it. Tell me what you think.
Well, I like to think so. I mean, when I took over, the prior chair stepped down after the November 2020 election. And I tell people the party was broke and broken. Our voters were disheartened by what went on in November 2020 nationally as well as locally. People were very frustrated, and I agreed with it. So I had to raise money to pay the rent, to come up with a political strategy. Even my own husband, we had so many people say, why are you even bother putting your name in the hat? The county's gone blue. And my own husband said, why are you going to do this? I mean, this is such a huge effort. And I just, I moved here from Northwest Kansas, farm girl. I love Harris County. I love Houston. It's given my husband and I a great place to raise a family. We built our careers here. We've done well here. And I thought it was worth the fight. And, I'm at that point in my life. I want to make sure that all the opportunities that we had, that my daughters can have the same opportunities and hopefully someday future grandchildren. So since that time, we've put an emphasis on trying to get great candidates to run for, quote, the nonpartisan races for school boards, for city councils, because that's the first level of government that we all deal with. But we ran good candidates in 22, and we started winning the county back. We won 4 countywide judicial spots. We helped appellate court judges win. So in 24, we won more. And it was hard in 24 to get candidates because particularly judicial candidates, because they basically, these lawyers said, I don't think I can win in a presidential year. And they're putting their livelihood on risk. But we won 9, 10 countywide judicial spots. We helped take 2 appellate courts back by winning 10 spots there. And I think we're poised to do what was done in the 90s. People don't remember. In the 90s, the party, and Mark, you remember, the party was in the same spot. We started winning, but as Senator Betancourt told me, he said, we didn't lose it overnight. We're not going to win it overnight. Mm-hmm. You do it by making and taking those incremental gains and building upon those successes. And, it takes great candidates. We're in a position now, we've filled the felony courts, we filled the misdemeanor courts, we've got the probate courts, we've got all the civil courts. I mean, other than a few family courts, we've got someone running in every countywide spot, as well as we've got, someone running against in every state rep spot, including against entrenched Democrat state reps that haven't had anyone running in decades. So I think we're poised to do great things. And I think what you do and what we have done is we have communicated on local issues, because I'm a former mayor of Bel Air, as you know, Chris, and I think it's the local issues that matter to people. We put a lot of focus on Washington and on Austin, but the reality, it's what your local government, what our county government is doing or not doing. What's going to happen to us when there's a Category 4 or 5 hurricane in the Gulf? Mm-hmm. How are we going to have emergency responders? Are our homes going to flood? Yep. Are we safe? And,
how much am I paying on the tollway?
Yeah. And Lena's wanting to jack up and the commissioners. And the only reason Adrian Garcia.
What does that mean, jack up the commissioners?
Jack up the tax rate.
Mm-hmm.
But the only reason that Lena had, it's her and Rodney Ellis, because Adrian Garcia, Leslie Briones, they had awakening in the 24 election. Adrian Garcia's precinct 2, Donald Trump won that. It's a wake-up call. And all of a sudden, they're willing to partner with Commissioner Tom Ramsey on things that they weren't. But if we don't take control of it, it's going to be back.
And it is an election year for both of them.
Yeah.
Well, Seth Keshel, who is an analyst who studies election integrity, and he said that in 2020, that Trump election year, if you pulled election fraud out of the equation, Harris County turned pink.
Yes.
So I believe it. I remember seeing Trump signs everywhere. So it's quite an achievement.
Go ahead.
Well, I think it's true in 22. Signs are not a total indication, but they're a pretty good indication of what's going on in the community. So look at Alexandra Miller's signs. They were in neighborhoods that Ed Emmett didn't have signs in when he lost.
Okay, real quick. Which one's a Democrat? Which one's a Republican?
Well, Ed Emmett was our former county Republican judge who was swept out in 18. And Alexandra Miller was our candidate running against Lena Hidalgo. And, she came really close. But remember, that was the year that we had an election, a corrupt, I think, election administrator, and we ran out of paper ballots at predominantly Republican polls.
And you're saying that it is a possibility we could have taken out Lena Hidalgo, county judge race.
I think so. And,
well, that's why they pulled
we got close. We got within 15,000 votes.
But and even we could have had a lot more of the judges down ballot. We could have won a lot more races. There's without a doubt, and I wasn't going into this job a conspiracy theorist, but I think there's election fraud. I think we have it nationally. I think we have it in Harris County, and it's in the mail-in ballots. And I'm going to give you an example. So 2024, our clerks down in Central County, and I'm not saying it's the county clerk, because we got the elections, we got legislation that returned the elections to the county clerk, who's elected and who's a Democrat and who can be thrown out of office if she screws it up. But what happened in 24, what was being reported to me by poll watchers, is the military ballots, mail-in ballots came in. And all of a sudden, Harris is winning the military ballots 80% to 20%. That doesn't make sense. Then we're hearing stories about the mail-in ballots that were coming in. When you're a kid and you take a test, like you would start off marking a check at the top, and then you might use an X all the way down. You use a check all the way down, or you start off an X. They were seeing that there would be check at the top and then X's, which tells me probably
business.
Someone else filled out the rest of the ballots. Someone may have filled out the top. That's still, I think the voter rolls is a problem, cleaning those up. And that came out after the 22 elections when we, the party, local party, filed a bunch of lawsuits, and some of our candidates filed election challenges, and they went in for depositions, and the county election administrator at the time, they asked him about cleaning the rolls. And he goes, oh, well, I'm not. We have someone on staff. They brought in that person, and they said, oh, well, we farmed that out. Turns out it wasn't being done. So I think, like Marc said about the county treasurers, the books, I think the same thing's true with what we've saw in 22 and 24. So it's an accomplishment to have won any races.
Okay, guys, we're going to take a second for our product, our featured product, which is the X39 patch. And This right here is the X39 patch. You can see it on my wrist. It is the most incredible medical technology ever introduced to man. I really believe that. Because this technology, what it does is it reverses age. It reverses age. When I say that, it's hard to believe, but all medical trials are done. All legal filings are in place. And it is without question, this patch reverses age. And so what does that mean? What it is, it's photolight therapy. And so your body emits light. This is true. And what it does is it reflects the light back into your body and stimulates your cells, stimulates the copper peptide, which stimulates your cells and allows for that regenerative process to happen. And so when I say that it reverses age, the clinical trials were done on the heart. And what they did is they studied a number of participants, and they showed that with 6 months of use of this patch, it will turn the age of your heart back by 8 years. Okay, it's amazing. So all the clinical trials were just done on the heart, but when you see the customer testimonials, it is clear that it does a lot more than that. And what does that mean? It comes out outward in many ways to different people. It might mean that your lower back pain goes away, or your tinnitus goes away, or it helps with things like autism. The testimonials are incredible. Go to Facebook, type in X39, and then whatever ailment, whatever condition, and just read the testimonials. It's the X39 patch. It's the most incredible technology. So it does all these great things for the body, but the truth is, one thing it does without question, it makes you look younger. Without question, it makes you look younger. And so I have a question for the ladies out there. I know you spend a lot of time looking in the mirror and seeing that aging process happening and thinking about it and studying it and everything like that. My question for you is, can you imagine if you put this patch on for 6 months? It's not expensive. It's very affordable. You put this patch on and you start to see your appearance go back in time, right? By almost a decade with 6 months of use. That's what the X39 patch does. And to learn more about this, text me if you got my cell phone, inbox me on Facebook, or text the word Patriot to 330-606-2304, and we'll get you set up for the X39 patch. Okay, guys, so, we talked about a lot of things in Harris County, but there's one thing that I think is quite momentous and really a state of affairs, a state of the work of Cindy, which is that now Governor Greg Abbott is committing resources and money and time and everything to win back the county. Now, Harris County's blue, okay? And this is
Purple. It's purple.
This is a formidable task, right? I'm sure it's purple. But it was blue. It might still be blue. It's a formidable task, but Greg Abbott must be seeing something if he's going to commit these resources. Cindy, it's purple. Okay, you got the floor. Tell us what's up.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at what we call a heat map, you would see that all the outer skirts are really red, and then it's the urban core that's blue. So it ends up being purple. And I think it was blue, and we've been moving it gradually to more purple. And actually, after the 24 election, we've identified some target House districts that, based upon the vote of Trump, we think are possibly flippable. And we've got, again, great candidates. And the governor, he's coming in, and he's announced it, and he announced that his kickoff for his reelection in Harris County, he's treating Harris County like a swing state. And quite frankly, he wouldn't be committing those resources if we hadn't done the work in 22 and 24. I mean, he's not spending them up in Dallas. He's not spending them in San Antonio. And he's for sure not spending them in Austin. And he's doing it because he thinks and he wants to win Harris County. Because if he can win big at the top of the ticket, it pretty much ensures that all of our down ballot Marc will win.
And I just wanted to say
deal.
that the governor is doing an amazing job, and it's not just writing a check. He didn't just write a check and forget about us. He is here on the ground 3, 4, 5 times a week. He is a formidable campaigner. He's a formidable politician, and by the way, I think he's endorsed you, hasn't he?
He's endorsed me, and so is the lieutenant governor. And so
I have those endorsements.
I know. We share a lot of the same endorsements. I've got Senators Betancourt, Polkors, pretty much all the state reps.
One of the things that Cindy, one of the things that you say often is that if we're going to take back this city, if we're going to take back this county, it's about local issues in a ground game. So tell me, what does that mean? Local issues in a ground game.
So I think sometimes, and I'm talking about the Republican Party, the RNC, sort of the Republican brand. I think our values are definitely the right values. I think the way that we govern is the right way. I think our policies are the right policies. But, I think you've got to communicate, which is sometimes our messaging is not necessarily in a way that resonates with just your average Joe Blow or Sally Blow, voter out there. They want a nice life for their family. They want to be able to get a job and progress. They want to be safe. And they're not necessarily like Marc and I living and breathing politics. And I think this is why Trump had been real effective, is that he recognized early in 2016 that people, the average person, felt like their government, their elected officials had left them behind. And I think for us, we started in 22 and actually in 21 when we started looking at school board races and city council races, talking about issues, talking about, you live in the city of Houston, is your trash picked up? My daughter lives in the Heights. She brings her recycling over to us in Bel Air because her recycling doesn't get picked up. Are you safe when you go out, if you go to an Astros game? If you're getting a divorce or trying to get child custody or, trying to settle a business dispute, is it taking you 8 years to get through the court system? Just basic things and basic issues. So if you communicate on those local issues, that resonates with that independent voter. And the fact is, in Harris County, over half the voters are independent voters. They haven't voted. They're not swing voters. They have not voted in a Republican primary, and they haven't voted in a Democrat primary. And quite frankly, that's where the play is for both parties who we're going after. And you have to convince them why our candidates, our policies are the better policies, and why they should vote for Marc. Why they should vote for one of our county judge candidates. These are important issues, and it's those day in, day out issues, And I use the example that Republicans have historically, we say we back our men and women in blue. Of course we do. We stand for law and order. Yes, we do. But what does that really mean? What I think it means is no matter where you live in Harris County, you and your family should be safe. My daughter in the Heights should be able to go out and have a drink on a Friday night with her girlfriends. If you live in the Fifth Ward, your son should be able to bike to school or bike 4 blocks to go to the swimming pool. My husband should be able to go to the ATM. You shouldn't have to live in River Oaks with your own private security. Everyone should be safe, and we should be demanding that of our elected officials. We should be able to demand that our neighborhoods, our homes are not going to flood, that we're going to be safe. That if you're an elderly person, if you're a senior, you shouldn't be driven out of your home because you can't afford the property taxes. Mm-hmm. Your kids should be able to get a good education. Our kids should be able to have a job when they get out of college, or they shouldn't even have to go to college. They should be able to go to a community school or a trade school. I mean, it's disturbing when you hear that our younger generation, our generations today, our young people, our gen, whatever they are, millennials and Z and X, but that they're not going to have a better life than their parents. they're not going to have more opportunity. There's something wrong. And that's what we're focused on. And
Okay.
we do it with a data-driven voter engagement plan, and that's what we've been doing.
That was incredible. I appreciate everything that you just said. I just feel like that message needs to be repeated over and over again. Very good. So one thing that everyone is chirping about in Harris County is the $50K contract with the Quan law firm. And I don't know all the details of that, but can you fill me in on what's the situation with that?
Yeah, sure. This happened about a month ago. The Commissioner's Court passed a contract, awarded a contract to the Quan law firm, and this is for legal services for foreign nationals who are looking to come here to Harris County and work and to provide those legal services. And I issued a press release and a video saying that, number one, if you're a foreign national and wanting to come to work here in the greatest country, in the greatest state, then you should pay your own legal fees, number one. And number two, don't we have qualified workers right here in Harris County, Texas, that we can employ? Why do we need to be importing this foreign labor?
I mean, here you are. You have Harris County citizens competing for jobs, paying into the tax base, and then the county commissioner's court's taking that funds and paying for legal fees for people that are non-residents, non-citizens to get the jobs that you want. This is perverse.
That's your tax dollars at work, and that's one way that I see the office is going through these financials and finding these contracts, finding these expenditures, and shining the light of day on all of this mismanagement so that we can put an end to it. Because once the public learns about this, I think they're going to be their ire is going to be aroused, and maybe we can put an end to this foolishness.
Okay, so one thing that Mark said earlier in the show is that we need to give Tom Ramsey some support in that commissioner's court. He's a one-man army, right?
Right.
He stands alone. What are the chances that we fill the county judge position with a Republican?
I think we have a really good chance. And we came again, like I said, in 22, really close. Lena's not running.
So it's going to be the former mayor.
I think it will be Anise Parker.
Anise Parker.
But
I think you're
let
right.
me tell you, she's going to try to come across as a moderate. She's going to try to cite, Houston, good governance, all that. But, the fact is, Houston is not out of the woods yet. There are a lot of issues. There are issues that let's talk about the fireman's contract. She kicked it down the road. Turner kicked it down the road.
Real quick, what is this contract?
This was on their pensions and trying to get equity between the police and the firemen. And no one wanted to settle it,
What does that mean, equity between the police and the firemen?
that they get the same type of benefit.
So one group was getting
better.
Which group was getting better?
Police.
The police had a better retirement package than the firemen. And so that would, of course, that needs to be rectified.
Yeah, and it was. And, I will say Whitmire came in and he started negotiating that. I
Right.
think Whitmire, and he was actually just recently censored by the local Democrat Party.
Right, yeah.
Because he's probably too Republican, and he's not a Republican, he's a Democrat,
I mean, look what they did to Kim Ogg.
Yeah.
Anyone in the Democrat Party that has a chance of restoring that party to some sensibility, to some sort of like the Kennedy years, is kicked out.
Well, they used to call it, what was it, the yellow dog Democrat? I mean, that's gone. And I think a lot of the people that we knew, like the 60s or 70s and 80s that were Democrats, even probably the 90s, they're sort of being drummed out of their own party. For the Republican Party, I mean, we used to be viewed as the old white people sitting having cocktails in the country club. We're now the party of the working man and woman. We're the party of the person that's the middle class, the people trying to get ahead. And that's, again, who we're messaging to. But we have got to take control. We need 2 more votes. So Tom Ramsey is not the lone ranger on.
Okay,
Commissioner's
so
Court.
all right, so Okay. Do you want to talk about who within that Republican primary most likely will get the spot to go for county judge? I mean, how's that race looking?
I think it's up in the air. We've got some great candidates. I can guarantee anyone that we get is going to be better than what the Democrats.
Amen to that. I was just going to say that we have got a great field of candidates, and they all have their own special, unique talents and abilities, and they're working really hard right now.
I
to
agree.
Get their message
I've
out.
met nearly every one of them. There's one gentleman that I will leave to the side, but the rest of them, great guys, very articulate on the matter, on the issues. So yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, and speaking as a party chair, sometimes I listen, I mean, there are a lot of great candidates in all the races. You sort of wish, I listen to their debates and it's like, well, that person had a great answer. And then the next person comes, well, that was a great answer to that question. Sometimes you wish you could take a little bit and you'd probably have the perfect candidate. But the fact is, whoever comes out as our candidate, the parties, all of our party, our grassroots will get behind them, our big donors and our grassroots donors will get behind them, the local party, which is everyone, our voters will get behind them. And I think with the resources of people and money that the governor's putting into it and all these groups coming together, I think we have a great possibility. It'll be hard work, but we have a great
and the commissioner seats as well.
Yes.
Okay, so let's talk about
we have an opportunity to take it back.
Let's talk about the commissioner seats. What seat? We talked about Tom Ramsey needing some support there. What commissioner seat has the best chance of bringing a Republican into?
I think they both do.
Okay, what are the precincts? Which one? When you say they both?
So we've got Adrian Garcia's, and there we have.
What precinct is that?
Precinct 4.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
2.
I'm sorry, 2.
Two.
Yeah, 2.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that was the one that Trump won.
And we have
So
two good candidates
We've
running
got
for that one.
two great Latino candidates, and I think either one of them will be a strong candidate, whomever comes out on top. Then in 4, which used to be 3, but was flip-flopped with a Rodney Ellis, last minute switcheroo that basically took away what was Tom Ramsey's. It used to be Steve Raddick. Well, now Steve Raddick is running in that race he'll run up against Leslie Briones.
Okay, did he win that primary? Is there a primary?
He's unopposed.
He's unopposed.
Okay, and that's precinct. Which one again is that?
That's 4.
So what is it? What are his chances of beating Briones?
Well, I actually think very good because he ran. What was it? He ran back in 24. His best
tax assessor.
Yeah, tax assessor. He came close on that, but he really turned out. His vote was turned out in 4, which used to be his precinct 3 before he stepped down and retired from it. So I think he has a really good shot. And it'd be great if we took all 3, but we need 2.
Okay.
We need to have 3 votes.
So early voting is happening right now. In Fort Bend, the Democrats are outnumbering the Republicans. Is that the same as in Harris County?
Yes. But
Is that an indicator of anything?
I think they're very motivated. They've got Trump derangement syndrome. We have to deal with some of the national issues. There's the ICE thing. That's going to be a factor. Trump closed the border, which I think was
Okay,
huge.
I'm sorry. I don't. Do you really think it's going to be a factor? I mean,
Well-
I feel like the Democrats plant these ideas in our head. They construct issues where there are none. Every immigrant that I talk to says I came here the right way, and
Yes.
so should everybody else.
Yep.
But the Democrats are very good about creating fear, shutting down conversation. We see what they're doing nationally. And all I'm saying, Chris, is we can't ignore it. We've got to be able, again, it's how we message. And I think, and I've always said this, the victims of criminals who came here illegally, American citizens, it should be in America first. we've got to be able to communicate and counter the rhetoric of the left, because they're like, oh, ICE is shooting American citizens, and they're doing, they do the rallies. And we've got to be able to message in a way that overcomes some of that the left rhetoric. And I think you do it by talking about local issues. You talk about safety. You talk about, it's the law. And you're right. The immigrants who came, it's not that the Republican Party is opposed to immigrants. I mean, we are a country that was built upon immigration. But you come here legally. We have a family friend that immigrated from Nicaragua, and she's spent years to finally become an American citizen. And I heard an elected Republican say, their analogy was, when you're on 610 or one of our freeways and it's all backed up, and you're sitting there and it's taking you 30, 40 minutes to get to the front where you can actually get on. The legal situation is that person who's up there cutting in line after you've been waiting in line in rush hour traffic.
That is a great analogy.
It is a great analogy. Again, it's communicating on those issues. And I think we have a great chance. But it is going to take hard work. It took hard work in 22. It took bringing the party together. And I tell our precinct chairs, every group I speak to, I've said it for the last 5 years, fight like hell for your candidate in the primary. And I'll give you a day or two, maybe even a week after the primary, but then suck it up and get behind all our candidates and be out there, because the Republicans on the ballot are better than anything that the Democrats can offer. They're crazy.
Guys, we covered everything. I mean, I would love to go in again, deep dive into all the issues, local infrastructure, election integrity, crime, all those things. Those are the issues that matter, and they need to come to the surface, but we don't have time for all those issues. So we're going to go ahead and close it out here, guys. Anything on the way out? Any last words, Mark? Any issues you want to talk about on the way out here?
I just want to encourage all of our Republicans, get out and vote in this primary. Let's show the Democrats that we're just as enthusiastic, we're just as fired up about the Republican ticket as they are about their ticket. And then that way we can take back Harris County in November with everyone energized.
Great. Yeah. Cindy?
Go vote. The Republicans, we are outvoting what we did in 24. We're running about 5,000 Republican extra voters over
That's
24.
Big. That's big.
But the Democrats, they feel like they've got the wind in their wind in their sails. That's right. But get out and vote. If I always tell people, if you don't like your candidates that are on the November ballot and you didn't vote in the primary, that's where the decision is made.
Yeah.
And I would also encourage people, we're starting our convention process. Precinct conventions are Saturday, March 7th. Senate conventions are March 28th. And then we're having the state convention here in Houston in June. And that's your way of influencing the leadership for the state party, as well as the platform and what our legislative initiatives are.
Yeah, I mean, really, this is a chance to restore our community, to take it back. It is a state of lawlessness. It is a state of pandemonium, and it's dangerous out there in Harris County. It is not safe. Our infrastructure is aging. It's cracking. It's flooding. The state of the county is not in a good condition. As Mark stated, the county treasurer's office operates in complete darkness. We have no idea where the funds are going. All of this the slate needs to be wiped clean and restored. And we, on this show, we have brought the slate of Republican candidates running for county offices, and every one of them is a impressive person, a humble, bringing the issues, and not flashing their money or anything like that. They're just bringing the issues. And I just think it's a great time. Again, Governor Abbott is committing sizable resources, time, money, everything to taking back this county. This is the greatest time to be alive in Harris County right now because we are on the precipice of doing something incredible, and winning is fun. So
A lot more fun than losing.
it is. It's a lot more fun. So,
And let me end with
Please.
this. Harris County is the firewall. We're the firewall for the state of Texas. We're the firewall for the country. We're the third largest county. In the country. We're the largest, has the most Republicans in the country. And, the rest of the state, the rural counties have sort of carried the state for us, and they're declining in population. And if we don't start taking back these urban counties, we'll not only lose Harris County, we will lose the state, and so goes Texas, so goes the country.
and if Harris County is taken away from the Democrats, it is going to be such a whopping blow. It's going to be devastating to them.
And they know it.
This is one of the most dynamic regional economies on this side of the planet. And if they lose it, it's going to be crushing for the Texas Democrats. And I don't see anything good that they're bringing. So, like to restore our state, like to restore our county, like to restore our great city of Houston, Texas. And with that being said, this is Chris Heasley with the Chris Heasley Radio Show. Thank you for your time. And we will be back here on Thursday with 2 more candidates for the Fort Bend County Republican Party primaries. Have a great week.